more exciting than my birthday and other major holidays within my family. Today is my 16th anniversary of being plant-based. And how buying the Engine 2 diet book in 2009, actually, was probably one of the most pivotal moments of my life, because not only did it become a lifestyle for me, it changed my life. I went to Rouxbe. I became a plant-based chef. I write recipes. I get to work with wonderful students like you. I get to teach classes all throughout the Philadelphia area. And it all started with this book by Rip Esselstyn. And sometimes I wonder how different my life would be if I was never at a meeting in Rockville, Maryland, when I worked many years for Whole Foods Market. So if you have someone in your life who's giving thought to becoming plant-based, my suggestion is to grab a copy of the Engine 2 Diet and read it from page to page. It is stock full of fabulous recipes. And I'm just ever so grateful to all of the Esselstyns who have become dear friends of mine, and also just grateful to the fact that I get to live a productive and healthy life. My other recommendation is, if you have someone in your life who's thinking about becoming plant-based, and I have to share with you that oftentimes young adults will come up to me and say, oh, my father has this disease or my mother has this disease, and look at you, you're 10 years older than my parents and you're so vibrant, and what's your trick? And automatically I go into, eating plants as my secret. And so this book by Dr. Esselstyn, which was a New York Times bestseller, is full of wonderful information. But also Ann Esselstyn, back in the day, contributed, I think, about 125 recipes. And these recipes were written before the movement really exploded. So the recipes are easy. They're easy to make, easy to follow. And the recipes are also very simple, because it's before the grocery stores were filled with vegan food that you really can't eat if you want to follow a whole food plant-based diet. So check out the Engine 2 Diet is now called Go Plant Strong. So check them out at goplantstrong.com, I believe. And if you type in the word Esselstyn in any search engine, you're going to find a lot of information from this really, really wonderful family. So that's it. Celebrating my anniversary today. I might go make some Mighty Muffins. Oh, people always say to me, oh, what's your favorite recipe in the Engine 2 book? And I always say, it's the Mighty Muffins. They were the first, quote, quote, cake-like recipe that I ever made. I make this recipe to the day. I often call the recipes a cousin of Mighty Muffins, because I might add my own flair to it, but I always give credit to the Engine 2 book. This recipe is inspired by Engine 2. This recipe originally appeared in the name of the book, because it's a really good way to connect what you know and how things started and how you continue to develop in your own realm of being plant-based. So thanks again to the Esselstyns. Thanks again to Rip. Kudos to everyone. So we have some questions, and I think it's going to be a fun day for us today. The first question comes from Barbara. And Barbara, I will make certain that when your name comes up in my queue, I will make sure that I help to ease any apprehension that you might have about taking your first ever Rouxbe course. And I think that maybe feeling a little anxious might be normal, because you have to get used to a computer system. You might have to do a little extra grocery shopping. You're going to have to do some cooking and other things like that. So I say enjoy the course. The instructors are always here for you. Our student services is always around to answer any questions. We all stay very connected. So enjoy it. I can't wait to see what your first meal will be, and just enjoy and have a ton of fun. So don't be anxious, okay, but enjoy it. If anyone else who has gone through the course is on here today and you want to offer some encouragement to Barbara, well, feel free to do so. Our next question is a very interesting one. This is from Betty N. Hello, Betty. How are you today? Betty is a certified nutrition consultant, and she's starting her own business in January of 2026. Congratulations to you. Excuse me, she's going to be offering nutrition and cooking classes, and she wants to know if she is permitted to use some of the Rouxbe recipes in the course with modifications. So maybe you just heard me say a couple of minutes ago that if I'm going to look at a recipe from the Engine 2 book, so I'll preface it by this, that sometimes I might be teaching in a community where ingredients that are in the recipe might not be readily available. So I might have to change a few things around, but I always give credit to the book. So if you're writing a recipe that might even have one or two minor changes to it, you would still want to say this recipe is inspired by the Rouxbe Online Cooking School, etc., etc. So that is a best practice. That's what many, many people do. If I use one of Chef Fran's recipes in a cooking class, I will say that this recipe is from Chef Fran Costigan, and you can find the recipe on her website or whatever. So we all like to stay together and be inspired. So good luck on your new endeavor. It sounds wonderful, and best wishes to you. Very, very nice. This next question is from, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Gonzague, and he has a rather small kitchen, and he wanted some advice on cooking tools and pots and pans. So I will say this, that you don't need to go out and buy a whole series of pots and pans that can cost you anywhere between $200 and $900. So you first want to take an inventory of your own pot and pan collection. And then with that, you want to keep an accurate list of what you have. I want to show you, this is a Farberware saucepan. Look, it even has a little dingy thing to hang the pot up. These are 45 years old. They were a wedding present from my parents. I still have the whole set. I love them. But guess what? I am always intrigued by new pots and pans. And last year for Christmas, someone gave me a caraway pan, which is it has 3 layers of a ceramic, and they cook beautifully. If you're not sure of what you want, I suggest starting small. And essentially, you would need to have a stock pot so that you can boil water for making pasta and making soup. I would suggest a few saucepans because they come with lids, and you can steam vegetables in them, reheat things, whatever. And lastly, a really good skillet that might have a 9-inch base so that if you're making something like a risotto, it has a full base and it will cook evenly, and you'll be able to break down the starches in that rice and make the most beautiful risotto. So take an inventory, see what you need. You don't have to go out and spend a zillion dollars. And lastly, and I'm sure that all of you hear me say that, go to a thrift store. There are some magnificent brands of pots at local thrift shops, including things like Le Creuset, Kefalon, and other pots and pans. So start small, build. And in terms of having a small kitchen, and I have a small kitchen. I live in a 100-year-old house whose kitchen is small. And so what you need to have is a good knife, a good cutting board, and I would say either a high-speed blender or a good food processor, so that that can help you create sauces and other things like that. And I have a wooden cutting board that is just for vegetables, and I have another wooden cutting board that has the word onions written on it in Sharpie so that my strawberries don't taste like onions. So good luck with that. Let us know how your kitchen develops, and we can't wait to hear what you'll be cooking. Oh, Betty just signed in. She said, thank you. You're welcome, Betty. Betty, let us know where your cooking will be taking place. Maybe if it's near one of the chef instructors live, we do like to get out and about in the community. So the next question is from Cecilia, and this is a question that I get all of the time. And how do you make oat milk? So for making oat milk, you will need to have, first of all, as Cecilia has asked, you want to wash the oats. You want to wash them quickly in a bowl with very cold water because you don't want to release anything. Wash them in cold water, strain them, put them into a high-speed blender, preferably if you have one. So to that 1 cup of flour, you're going to add 4 cups of very cold water. And here's the ticket. You do not want to over blend or beat this, because if you do, you are going to get wallpaper paste. And I only know this because years ago, I thought, oh, well, the more I blend it, the better it's going to be. But it goes from being a milk to a paste. So 20 to 30 seconds, and then take it off of the base of your blender and strain it either in a nut bag or a double mesh strainer, not stroller. And you will get a really nice amount of oat milk. If you want to add sweetener to it, you can use a little bit of maple syrup. You're going to have to practice this a couple of times, because the first time, from my experience, it didn't come out great, but you kind of get to understand the flow of your blender and how your oats are. But wash them in cold water and you should be good to go with that. So that's a great question. We do have a video up on our social media, how to make almond milk. So you might want to take a look at that. And just remember, you're only going to blend those oats and the water for 20 to 30 seconds. So I hope that works out well for you, and that you make delicious oat milk. It will be a huge savings for you, because some of the oat milks have really increased in price. So it's a good cost of saving mechanism to use. So thanks very much for the question. So the next question is from Diana D., who asked a very interesting question about green banana flour. It is available. I have seen it at grocery stores by Bob's Red Mill, I believe. First, I'm going to tell you that it's about $12.99 a pound. So it's an extremely expensive flour. I think that if I were going to buy it, I would see if it's available in bulk and buy maybe just a quarter of a pound and test it on a small recipe. When you do work with banana flour, it works best if you cut it with something else. So let me give you an example. If the recipe called for a cup of whole wheat flour, you would diminish the banana flour to 3/4 of a cup. Then if the recipe, you can do this math, but maybe adding some almond flour to that ingredient of the green banana flour will give it a little bit more texture and flavor. I have used it. I'm not a fan of it. I think that there are some other, it looks like you're looking for something that's low keto and less sugar resistant. I would say an almond flour works very, very well, but experiment with us and come back and tell us how you liked it and how it worked for you. Very good question. Always appreciate hearing those kinds of questions. And in terms of any recipes, this would be my suggestion. Take a favorite recipe of yours and just exchange the flour that's required in that recipe and see how it works for you, because that's your ultimate goal, is to make things that you really like and that are successful recipes for you. So let us know how that works for you, and we can't wait to hear from you. So thank you very much, Diane. Our next question is also from Diane, who she has read that essential peppermint oil is good for digestion. And she wants to know if she can use it in cooking. So a couple of things. The first one is that if you do use an oil, peppermint oil, it must be food grade. That's the most important thing. If you go to a place like Sprouts or Whole Foods Market, or here in the Northeast where I live, or the Mid-Atlantic actually, we shop at Mom's Organic Market, and she has quite an extensive bulk spice area where you can buy things to try them out. My suggestion would be this. First of all, using spearmint as a garnish is a wonderful way to help soothe your stomach and aid digestion. And maybe some of you know that I recently returned from Italy, and while some herbs might be out of season, spearmint leaves were used as garnishes, not only in recipes, but as garnishes, and as the chef explained, that they're good for your stomach. So if you have some spearmint in your yard, you can do that. I also think that maybe looking at some peppermint teas, that would be another way, but cooking with them, I personally have never used them. Remember that they're very concentrated, and if you do use them, you're going to take about 1 or 2 drops. So let's say that the recipe calls for a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and you're going to use this peppermint instead. It would be 2 drops of the peppermint oil, and then you would either put plant milk or whatever to equal the 1 teaspoon quantity that you're looking for. But I think that eating well, adding ginger to your diet, adding peppermint leaves, maybe that peppermint tea might be another way to look at that. I will say, and off the top of my head, I don't remember the brand, but there are oil-based extracts because many people who have alcohol allergies or don't keep alcohol in their homes will use oil-based extracts. And there is a peppermint one, and they are oil-based, but the amount used will still give you 0 fat per gram. So I hope that's helpful to you. Okay, you're going to be busy cooking and things like that. This is from Dina. She recently purchased a made in stainless steel clad, for your Works Over Knives classes. Okay. The company suggests heating the pan prior to adding oil. Does this work for using vegetable broth and water? So are you saying that the first time that you use it, they want you to sort of cure it with oil? I've recently gotten some new pans and I don't do any of that. I just heat it up and boil some water in it so that it gets used to that. I think that you have a really good quality pan there with the brand that you've suggested. And I would just maybe boil some water in it and then put a top on it and let it sit. And I think you'll be good. I have done that in the past and it works. So good question. Congratulations on coming into Forks Over Knives. We're always excited to see new students. I'll make sure that I look for your name on the side of my computer. And very nice. You're going to love that pan, especially when you do the no oil saute mushrooms. The pan's going to make you very happy. So congratulations, and we'll look forward to seeing you in class. The next question is a pending question, and it is from Robert. Is there any way to connect with other students? I know we have the Facebook page, but it would be nice to connect and share the experience together. So there is the ability to connect with students online in the program itself. We are on Facebook. There's a specific group for Forks Over Knives, and oftentimes students will post a picture of something that they have made, or they'll ask a question and one of the instructors might pipe in and answer that question. It might be a good idea for you to post a question and say, hey, does anybody want to meet on Wednesday night for 20 minutes to talk about assignment 132? So I have to say, as some of you may know, that I went to Rouxbe more than 10 years ago, and I am still friendly with about 6 or 7 of the people who I went to class with. So I think that it depends upon, how you want to reach out and what you want to do. But I think, Robert, that that's a great idea. So I like that a lot. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Rouxbe Plants. And we are also on Instagram as Rouxbe. And the difference is the Rouxbe is for people who are in the non-plant-based programs. And then the Rouxbe Plants is for those who practice a plant-based lifestyle. And today there's a very interesting post about what sweeteners to use while celebrating Rosh Hashanah, because many vegans, for ethical reasons, and others don't eat honey. So what would you use in place of honey? And if you have the chance, you've got to go to Rouxbe Plants to check out the Saturday student highlight with Laura Hollenbach. She has been to 3 Rouxbe programs, and she also graduated from Chef Fran's Essential Vegan Dessert program. And she's an artist in real life, and her artistry shows up in every dish that she makes. So go to Rouxbe Plants and you'll see Laura Hollenbach's photo. And then she has a carousel of really magnificent dishes that she has made with Chef Fran. So thanks again, Robert. Good question. This is from Katie R. Which gluten-free flours do you recommend? Can any of the recipes in the course be made gluten-free? So I make my own oat flour simply because it's easy. I just throw whatever amount I need. I throw it into my high-speed blender and it comes out beautifully. I make sure that I sift it so that its texture is good, but I think I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Um, you can, it's going to, if you do the manicotti assignment, that's a very difficult one to do if you do it gluten-free. However, there are some very good Italian flours that are gluten-free and work very, very well. And I find those gluten-free flours at my local grocery store. Don't have to go to like a specialty store or order it online or anything like that. So yes, and I will also say for anyone who might be oil-free and salt-free that when I went to Rouxbe, I did every single assignment, whole food, plant-based, no oil, SOS free, salt, oil, sugar. And I would always put a disclaimer at the top of my assignment saying that this was made without oil. And everything came out, and I think I did pretty well. I love the course, and you can make these dishes to fit your lifestyle. I will say, however, that if there's an assignment that you aren't feeling comfortable with, or I'll give you an example. There's the lemon assessment of assessing lemon in different stages with different sugars and holding your nose and things like that. And someone was allergic to lemon, and what they did was they had their spouse do the test, and then she asked him the questions that we needed to have the answers to, and she recorded his answers and then used that as her assignment. So those are some clever things that you can do. Or people have successfully made a required dish and then awarded it to a neighbor or a friend who was always grateful. So that's a way to do that. But I think you can do gluten-free very well. Example, if you're putting in a soup thickener, you could just use some oat flour and that would be absolutely perfect instead of having to make a roux or something from traditional flour. And this is from Robin R. This is her 6th anniversary of being plant-based. We are graduates of Rouxbe classes and McFadder PB Culinary School. I don't think I'm familiar with that. And this is from Robin. She's been asked to do a presentation and demo in our community of plant-based food. What would you make to impress non-P plant-based? Well, I think plant-based food is always delicious. The recipe, if it's plated beautifully, remember that we eat with our eyes first, so that would be my recommendation. In one of Jane Esselstyn's books, she has a recipe for Dr. Seuss stackers. The base is polenta, then there's a walnut sauce, and then there's a tomato, and then more walnut sauce, and it's topped with a sweet potato round. Those are very nice. A beautiful salad. I'm teaching a class presently in Philadelphia, and when I create the mise en place for the students and they work in small groups and then they're going to create the dish, I see a lot of eye rolling, and then at the end I hear, oh my God, this is so good. This is so delicious. So I think a salad might be nice. And I also think another recipe that I really love from Ann Esselstyn is, I think they're called, well, I don't remember what they're called, but it's a piece of pumpernickel bread. Then it's got some hummus on it, and then it's got some cooked kale, and then a swirl of balsamic glaze and some fresh tomatoes. So they're called pepper ridge sandwiches, I think. They're in a lot of her cookbooks. But something simple, something fun, something that's easy to transport, and something that will maintain its temperature easily as well. So desserts are also always good. You could easily make some mighty muffins from Rip Esselstyn's book, and then serve it with some fresh fruit or something like that. So sounds like you might be very creative, and maybe before you teach the class, ask the participants what they would like to see in the coming weeks. And then children always eat what they make. And what I find is that the week before, when I have a class, I say, well, what do we want to do next time? What do you think would be the most fun? Here are 3 cookbooks, pick out a recipe. So there you have it. I think you're going to do great. I think you're going to have a great time. And congratulations on your 6 years of being plant-based. I know how great you feel, and I know that you're probably a beacon of inspiration for many people in your community. So congratulations to you, Robin, and thank you so much for sending that question. And I always love to hear those kinds of questions. Let me see, one last thing. Here is my latest copy of Bon Appetit magazine. And why do I get Bon Appetit magazine? For inspiration, because I'll look at a recipe and say, oh, I could easily, scratch the salt and use a low sodium tamari. And for those 2 eggs, I'll just make 2 flax eggs. And I get inspiration for different flavors and things. And then here's the best part. My cousin's granddaughter is a Girl Scout, and the Girl Scouts of America have gotten very smart. They don't just sell cookies, they sell magazine subscriptions, they sell stationery, they send all sorts of things. So makes me happy when my magazine comes that I know I'm supporting my cousin's granddaughter. So also reading this magazine gives me great inspiration for things that I would like to make and try and share those updated recipes that are inspired by Bon Appetit magazine. So I think that we're going to call it a day. I have loved having all of you here in my office. I'm in the throes of finishing a big term paper for graduate school. So I think what I'm going to do is finish this lovely, lovely meeting with you and hop on my bicycle and get a couple of miles in. I'm Char Nolan, chef at the Rouxbe Online Cooking School, signing off from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And we'll see you soon. Have a great day.